I just wanted to be normal. I just wanted to be normal like everybody else. And so I got married thinking that would fix me. I changed geography thinking that would fix me. I tried all these exterior things to fix my insides, me inside. And I didn't know that that's what was going on. I just knew I was different all these years. I'm Allan, and this is my story. This is kind of what happened to me when I was lost. I was raised an only child with my grandmother and mother in a trailer till I was about 8, and then she got married. My mom did. And I just always felt insecure and awkward, and so I developed a few survival skills in my youth, and one was comedy. I found how to make people laugh. And the other was that if I could care for you or nurture you, that somehow made me feel better. But I couldn't do it for myself. Isn't that awkward? And by the time I was 22, I had caught my first real felony, and that had to do with methamphetamines. So the progression was there. And once I was on parole, there was this thing where I would, go do my time. I'd get caught, I'd go do my time, and then I would swear I wasn't gonna do that again. And I would get out and I would start drinking a little bit, and then I needed a little pick-me-up on Mondays because the weekends weren't long enough, and eventually I'd lose my job. And it was this progression of a disease I didn't know I had, which I went to AA later on and found out it was alcoholism, and that there was a spiritual malady that only a spiritual remedy could cure me of. And that was a really hard thing for me to figure out. And I just remember that watching, the big cats on the Serengeti, and that what they needed for survival, the basic instincts of a life form on this planet. And I wasn't even measuring up to that. They needed food, they needed shelter, and that was pretty much basics. And I was 40 pounds underweight, barely making rent, camping out in a house. It was just basically a zoo, a drugged in. And I just didn't want to live like that anymore. And I just remember my face leaking, my dog stuck his head on my chest and made this chirpy whine, like very concerned noise for me. And I threw up probably the most honest prayer of my life. And to a God I really didn't believe in, that I was upset for making an alcoholic drug addict like me, if you're such the creator. And I said, you got to do something with me. I'm just done. And careful what you pray for, because I don't know, it was only a couple days later I got arrested. I figured my life was over, and every miracle in my life did not feel like a miracle when I walked through it. It felt like the end of the world, really. And I thought, what am I gonna do? This is, the 4th time I'm going to prison. I'm probably gonna get a long time. And I just didn't understand how it was gonna play out ever. And I didn't think any good would come from it. But I knew I wasn't gonna drink or use. And that was all I wanted at that point. So I had been rescued in that sense. And I was just like, yeah, I figured my life was over, seriously. Age 42 and 4th trip to prison and multiple felonies, I figured wasn't gonna work out well. But what it did was it separated me from drugs and alcohol long enough to start looking at some alternatives, and one of those was God. The day I probably really intentionally turned my life over to God was after I got out of prison. I knelt down with this man who is my sponsor today. I've known him for years now, maybe 20 years. And we knelt down, we said that prayer together. God, I offer myself to thee to build with me, to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to you, and those of thy power, that I may help of thy love, thy will. May thy do thy will always. And it says in the big book, we don't really need to say those exact words, we just need to have the gist of that and the meaning of that. We could use our own words. And I didn't think I'd ever do anything like that. That was like You want to talk about crazy? That's crazy. Oh my gosh. Like, are you serious? Like, this is desperate. Like, really, I'm going to do this? Like, and it's been awesome. I couldn't imagine my life any other way now. So it was actually through recovery that I gained an idea of God, and working through the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous cleared away the wreckage of my past, got me to connect with something bigger than myself. I got to learn how to clean house, trust God, and help others. And so that's when I decided to go to a church and look for God, not in recovery rooms, but an interpersonal relationship. Started reading the Bible, was getting on YouVersion with my mom and my cousin who were chaplains, and I was open to the idea of investigation. And then once I started learning, I started applying that to my life, just the same as I did in AA or even going to college or school or anything like that. You gain the knowledge, then you put into practical application, and you're very intentional about it. I hear God through people. He puts people in my life, and if I'm not connecting with those people, I'm not getting fortified, edified with Him. And Jason was talking a lot about, we don't do this alone. That's the same thing in AA. We don't do this alone. There's united we stand, divided we fall. Everybody knows that. I mean, you hear it in politics, right? There's a sense of community, togetherness. There's strength in numbers. And the more I study the Word with more people, the less I lean on my own perspective and understanding. What I got to feel in the past 5 years was I'm a worthful, fallible, precious child of God. And that encompasses, that's my mantra, and that encompasses most everything in my life. Yes, I'm gonna walk through life, I'm gonna have hardships, I'll make mistakes, I'm not perfect. I don't have to have all the knowledge of the Bible when somebody comes to talk to me about God. I can just share what He did in my life. I don't have to be a pastor, I don't have to have theology, I just have to have time.